Hey, if you want to understand why some people build generational wealth while others stay broke no matter how much they earn, you need to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Robert Kiyosaki grew up around two fathers with completely opposite money philosophies. His real dad, the poor dad, was educated, hardworking, and broke. His best friend's dad, the rich dad, never finished high school but became wealthy beyond measure. Today, I'm breaking down 7 principles from this book that explain the difference. Let's start with the most fundamental truth in the book. Most people learn about money from their parents, and most parents are broke. Kiyosaki's poor dad had a good income. He was an educated professional, but he taught his son one simple lesson. Work hard, get good grades, get a job, and work for someone else. This isn't criticism, it's just what he knew. He made decent money, but money management, financial strategy, building wealth, he had no framework for it. Rich Dad taught something completely different. Poor Dad said, work hard for money. Rich Dad said, make money work for you. This single distinction became the theme of everything. One dad was trying to earn more and more, getting caught on a treadmill. The other was building systems where money multiplied without his direct labor. The insight we learn from about money is often the difference between wealth and poverty. Most people learn from their parents, but if your parents are financially illiterate, you inherit their illiteracy. This is generational poverty. Kiyosaki was lucky. He had access to Rich Dad's thinking. Most people don't, so they repeat the same patterns. Work hard, earn decent money, spend it all, retire broke. The lesson: be intentional about who teaches you about money. Study the wealthy, read books, find mentors. Don't just inherit your parents' financial patterns. Here's the core distinction that separates rich dad from poor. Understanding assets and liabilities. Kiyosaki defines them simply. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. Not what your accountant says, not what the bank says, what actually happens with your cash flow. This is where most people get confused. You think your house is an asset, right? It's probably your biggest purchase. But if you're paying a $2,000 mortgage, $300 property tax, $200 insurance, and $100 maintenance every month, that's $2,600 leaving your pocket. Your house isn't generating income, so it's a liability. But a rental property that generates $3,000 month rent with $2,000 in expenses, that puts $1,000 in your pocket. That's an asset. The wealthy understand this distinction. They avoid liabilities that buy assets. But here's where the trap gets people. Liabilities feel like assets. A new car feels good. Buying the nice house feels like an achievement. Upgrading your wardrobe feels like success. These feel like progress. Kiyosaki calls these indulgences, and wealthy people buy them too, but only after they've bought enough assets to generate the income. Poor people do it backwards. They spend 100% of income on liabilities, leaving 0 for assets, so they stay poor. The wealthy spend money on assets first. The cash flow from those assets buys the liabilities. This is the distinction. If you understand nothing else from this book, understand this. Assets build wealth. Liabilities destroy it. Here's something that seems backwards. The wealthy don't work for money. They work to learn. Kiyosaki will take a job that pays less if it teaches him something valuable, because education compounds into greater earning ability. A poor person takes the highest paying job because they need the money. A rich person takes the job that teaches them the most because they understand wealth compounds from knowledge. This is a totally different time horizon. Kiyosaki worked sales jobs to learn persuasion and negotiation. He worked accounting to understand finances. He worked for his rich dad to learn business mechanics. Were these the highest paying jobs? No, but each one taught him skills that made him more valuable. The key insight: skills are the ultimate asset. If you have sales skills, you can make money anywhere. If you understand investing, you can build wealth anywhere. If you understand business, you can create income streams anywhere. But if all you have is the job title of one company, you're completely dependent on that employer. You have 0 leverage. Most people are in this trap. Wealthy people are different. They use jobs as education. They learn. They build skills, then they apply those skills to multiply their income. The lesson: next time you consider a job, ask yourself, will this teach me something valuable? Not just, does it pay well? Kiyosaki emphasizes something most people ignore. Most people don't understand financial literacy. Poor dad made good money, 6 figures, but he couldn't read a financial statement. He didn't understand taxes. He didn't know what a balance sheet was. Rich dad never made as much, but he understood money fundamentally. Financial literacy is knowing how to read financial statements, the difference between profit and cash flow, how to use debt strategically, tax advantages of different business structures, how investments work. These aren't complicated topics, but most people never learn them. They hire accountants and hope for the best. The consequence? They make bad financial decisions because they don't understand the mechanics. Kiyosaki's call: educate yourself on finances. Read books on accounting. Study how wealthy people structure their taxes. Understand leverage. Learn investing basics. You don't need to be an expert. You just need to understand more than the average person, which isn't hard because the average person understands almost nothing. This knowledge alone will save you hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Here's a massive principle: the wealthy own businesses. Everyone else works for them. Now, Kiyosaki isn't saying you have to quit your job, but he is saying that building some kind of business, even small, is critical to wealth. Why? Because a business gives you advantages that a salary job doesn't. Tax advantages. A business owner can write off expenses. Your home office, travel, meals, equipment, these become business deductions. An employee can't do this. The tax code literally rewards business ownership. Leverage. As an employee, you trade hours for dollars. 40 hours per week, one income. A business owner can hire people. Hire 10 people and you have 400 working hours. Exponential leverage. Asset building. A business can be sold. A salary becomes zero the day you retire. A business is a sellable asset. Control. You decide the direction. You're not subject to management's bad decisions. But there's a deeper reason. A business education is unmatched. Running a business teaches you sales, customer psychology, accounting, marketing, management, problem solving. No job does this. Kiyosaki's recommendation: start something small while keeping your job. Freelance, sell products, build an online business, consult. The income isn't the point, the education is. Kiyosaki built most of his wealth through real estate, but the principle applies to anything. The strategy: use leverage to control assets you couldn't afford alone. Get a mortgage for a rental property. The rent covers the mortgage and provides cash flow. You didn't use your own money to buy the property. You borrowed money, but you control the asset. Meanwhile, the property appreciates. You build equity. The tenant pays down your mortgage. You build equity. You get cash flow, income. You get tax benefits, deductions. You build wealth using other people's money. Compare this to someone who buys a car in cash. They spent their money. The car depreciates. No cash flow, no leverage. This is the difference between wealthy and poor thinking about debt. Poor people avoid all debt, buy what they can afford, minimize risk. Wealthy people use good debt strategically, borrow to buy assets that generate income. Good debt builds wealth, bad debt destroys it. Kiyosaki used real estate as his primary wealth vehicle because of leverage. He made more money by owning 10 properties with borrowed money than he could have earning a salary for 50 years. The lesson: leverage is a tool. Understand the difference between good and bad use of it. Finally, Kiyosaki offers practical advice that might surprise you. Don't quit your job to pursue wealth. Keep your job. Use your salary as your foundation. Your job gives you stable cash flow, health insurance and benefits, potentially 401k matching, time to build your business on the side. Use your salary to fund your investments in business. Don't spend everything you earn. As your business or investments grow, they generate income. Eventually, that income exceeds your job. Then, and only then, consider going full-time. This isn't sexy. It's not the startup story, but it's smart. It's how Kiyosaki actually built wealth. Not by gambling everything on one business, by steady accumulation while maintaining security. The timeline isn't quick. but it's reliable. You're building from a stable foundation instead of from nothing. Those are the 7 core lessons from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, who teaches you assets versus liabilities, working to learn, financial literacy, starting a business, using leverage, and building on a stable foundation. This book challenges the conventional path, but Kiyosaki shows there's another way. What's one idea from this book you're going to implement this week? Let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe for more book summaries.